The clicker. I recently had to buy a birthday present for a friend's daughter. She was turning 8, and we were invited to the birthday party. My own daughter, she's only 4 months old, so that doesn't exactly make me an expert in what gift an 8-year-old girl would like. So, being Danish, I decided to buy Lego. Lego was invented less than an hour from where I was born, and everyone loves Lego, right? So I went down to Lego's new flagship store on Leicester Square, and I was faced with an impressive 900 square meters of options. If you haven't had a chance yet, that store is an amazing experience for Lego fans. But it didn't actually help me with my problem. Now I was just faced with even more choice. But luckily, Lego recently launched a mobile gift helper. So I took out my phone and I started a conversation with Ralph, the gift bot. I was a little skeptical at first, as I'm sure you can imagine, standing there chatting with a Lego bot, but within just a minute, he was able to guide me through everything to consider. Price, age, interests, and passions. In less than a minute, Ralph was able to help me find the perfect gift that I could then buy in store. And in case you were wondering, the Lego Art Cafe I bought is a big hit at a birthday party. A few weeks later, we wanted to take our children on a picnic in the park. As we were packing our things in the morning, we realized that we didn't have any cooler bags for the food. We could have delayed the picnic a bit, so we could go to a shop and buy one. But being ex-Amazon, I'm a big Prime Now user. So I opened up my Prime Now app, and I ordered the cooler bags. I was able to track the driver real time, and in less than an hour after placing the order, the cooler bags were delivered, and we were ready to head to the park. 2 questions for you. How are these 2 stories connected? And why am I using my precious time here at Wired talking about Lego and cooler bags from Amazon? It's because these are 2 everyday examples of a massive shift happening in the way we all shop. These are 2 examples of well-known companies using technology to remove friction in the shopping process. And I believe it's one of the most important trends in retail right now. In fact, I would go as far as to say that friction is the single biggest threat to your business right now. I don't say that lightly. I say that because of 3 major shifts happening in consumer behavior right now. The first one is about how we all feel about friction. Because today, we hate friction. We walk away from friction. An estimated $260 billion is lost every year just on abandoned shopping carts in the US alone. And a recent study here in the UK found that 1/3 of all shoppers would rather stay at home and do dishes than go to physical retail stores. When you dig into it, it turns out the main reason for that is people hate queuing. And here I was thinking that most people in Britain loved a good queue. Turns out 1/3 would rather stay home and do dishes. Granted, I think we can all agree it's a slightly odd survey question, but it does illustrate the point, just how much we hate friction today. We get angry about friction. Many of us take to social media to complain about friction. The second big shift is around our speed of expectations, because retailers are investing a lot in using technology to improve the customer experience. But at the same time, we all, as consumers, become faster and faster at taking new technology for granted. I'll give you a simple example. Think about contactless payment. I'm sure we all use it now, but if you think back to when you first started using it regularly, how quickly did you start getting annoyed with shops that didn't accept it? The point is this: as soon as a new piece of technology becomes mainstream, we expect its functionality in everything. We take almost no time at all to acclimatize to new technology. And that means, as a retailer, that just maintaining the current level of customer service is no longer good enough. A recent study found that UK shoppers in 2017 were 3 times more likely to have a poor experience than 2016. That's not because retailers in the UK suddenly got significantly worse at customer experience. It's because our expectations are rising fast. Think about an everyday example, booking a taxi. If you go back, say, 5 years, I'm sure most of us back then would have been perfectly fine with ordering a taxi the day before. I was talking to an Uber driver about this recently, and he was describing how increasingly more and more people have started canceling him if he's just 5 minutes away when he gets booked. That's going from most of us being perfectly fine with ordering the day before to being frustrated with just 5 minutes wait in just a few years. Today, the only thing that moves faster than the speed of technology is the speed of our expectations, and we all need to keep up. The third big shift in consumer behavior that we're seeing is around customer loyalty, because technology makes it easier for customers to do business with you, but the flip side is it also makes it easier for customers to shop around. And friction is the single biggest thing that drives customers away. Because when friction doesn't go away, we just go somewhere else instead. In the UK, the estimated cost of customers switching due to poor experience is £201 billion a year. So the old saying has never been more true. Loyalty is hard to earn, but easy to lose. And together, these 3 trends is what causes me to say that friction should be the highest priority for your company. Because this is happening across every step of the shopping journey, from discovery through to purchase and through to support. At every step of that shopping journey, the bar of expectations is being pushed up. If you take delivery as an example, as soon as we've gotten used to services like Prime Now, as I mentioned before, or Deliveroo, who spoke here on stage earlier, or Uber Eats, as soon as we've gotten used to that, any delivery service where we can't track the driver real time will seem outdated. Or take customer support. As soon as we're used to being able to chat to a retailer real time, any retailer that tries to force us to go to the website to search for a customer email address and then email that and wait 24 hours for a reply will frustrate us. The companies who are winning right now, the companies that have realized these shifts and are pushing harder and are moving faster to try and remove friction. They understand that they don't necessarily need to be better in every single dimension, but they need to understand where competition is weakest and then be better at that. And when they get it right, they remind us all that as consumers, we deserve better. A way to describe this would be expectation transfer. Because what's happening is that one brand's outstanding performance in one dimension suddenly sets the expectation for everyone else. That becomes the new bar. I was talking to the founders of Qubit, a personalization company here in the UK, about this trend, and they summarized it quite nicely as one brand's gold standard of service becomes the price of admission for everyone. That affects all of us. If we don't recognize the shifts in consumer behavior and pivot accordingly, we'll all get left behind. So, we recognize the challenge, but the question is, what can we actually do about it? I would argue that there are 3 things we all need to focus on. And the first one is around the role of mobile. It's about dialing up mobile as the glue that connects everything in shopping. We've all been talking about mobile first for years. We all recognize the importance. We've all been reading the report, yet we all keep underestimating the impact that mobile can have at every step of the shopping journey. And it's so easy. If you look at the industry reports, if you look at even like most P&Ls in most organizations, like they split mobile out as a separate thing. It goes something like this. Total retail sales in the UK is estimated at about £450 billion this year. 80% offline, 20% online, and within that 9% is mobile. Just 9%. If you look at the world that way, through the lens of separate channels, it's so easy to miss the point, which is mobile is the glue that connects everything. Mobile can put you ahead of the competition in delivery experience, as we just talked about. Mobile can transform your in-store checkout experience, and we've seen several examples today. Or mobile can make your company famous for amazing customer support. The second action is much more around the culture within each organization. It's about making sure that removing friction is a priority, making sure that the whole organization is friction-obsessed. Rarely do we speak to senior leaders who would rank friction as a top priority. And I'm sure many of you are advanced retailers with very capable consumer experience teams. Yet friction still prevails. Friction is everywhere. And so I think we need to ask ourselves, within our organization, do we have the right processes in place to identify and escalate and quickly remove friction at all steps? Does your sales team and your customer support team have direct access to your product teams and your developers to quickly sort out friction? Is your in-store team actually connected with your online team? Because removing friction has to be a priority across the whole organization, in all teams and at all levels. It can't just be a separate task for a consumer experience team. And the third action is around how we invest in new technology. And I find this really fascinating because a lot of new technology actually add friction until it reaches a tipping point. Take mobile as an example. Think about how difficult it used to be to buy anything on a mobile. The screen was tiny, the internet was slow, it was impossible to enter credit card details on them until one day it changed. Screens got bigger, internet got faster, and one-click shopping changed the whole game. Think about how many businesses were left behind in that moment. How many businesses underestimated just how quickly it would pivot. Fast forward to today, voice. We've talked a lot about that today. It's still not a great experience. I have an Alexa at home. I love my Alexa, but she still responds to the TV quite often, and she still doesn't really get my Danish accent. So it's not a frictionless experience yet, but it will be. Or if you look ahead, think about virtual reality. You still have to put on that big headset. It's still not a frictionless experience, but the technology is improving fast. We still don't know how it's going to transform shopping, but it will. One day, a retail disruptor will find a way to make it easy and convenient, and then it'll take off. And the point is this. A lot of new technology, like voice, like virtual reality, or mobile before that, it adds a lot of friction until it reaches that tipping point. But we still need to make sure that we invest in it so that it's a competitive advantage when it happens and we don't get left behind. So where is this all going to end? Well, none of us can predict the future, but I think it's probably safe to assume that 10 years from now, every step of the shopping journey will have been disrupted multiple times over. We might never fully get to a zero-friction future, but we'd be significantly closer than where we are today. And I wanted to give you a couple of examples, just some of the things that we're working on with leading retailers to try and remove friction today. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Tesco's big Food Love Stories campaign. It's a massive rebrand, repositioning Tesco at the heart of Britain's love for food. As part of that big campaign, they developed a series of inspirational videos for our platform. Behind me, you can see a video for Nana's Magic Vegetable Soup. But the question was, how do you turn that inspiration into action? So we worked with Tesco to make it easy to list all of the recipes right below the video, so you could easily click through and add them to your online shopping basket, or you could use it as a shopping list in store. Take the IKEA catalog. Most of us have been used to physical catalogs for so long, we've almost forgotten how much friction they actually entail. IKEA wanted to reinvent the catalog for mobile, so we partnered with them to create a much more personal and immersive experience where users are taken into this full-screen, fast-loading environment where every section of the catalog is personalized and curated through machine learning based on the individual's interest. And from there, you can then click straight through to buy. It's a much more frictionless experience. Or consider some of the recent changes that we've made on Instagram. Just a few weeks ago, we announced this. So I'm sure many of you use stories. It's one of the fastest growing formats in the history of our company. And people love it. But the idea is, if you then go into stories on the left-hand side here, you see a product in there that you really like, you're inspired by. Like, how do you actually buy it? So we've introduced shopping inside stories where you can easily click on the product, get through to a product detail page, and straight through to buy. Much more convenient. And we've even made it easier than that. We've added a shopping section inside of Instagram where you can go in and see all the different brands and influencers you follow and the different shopping posts that they have, and again, click straight through to buy. These are just a couple of examples of things that we're working on. But imagine if we could all partner to create things like that. Imagine if we could all create consumer experiences that wow people the same way I was wowed when I was chatting to Ralph, the Lego bot, or when I was able to track my Amazon driver real time as he was coming with my cooler bags. And in order to do that, there are those three things we need to do. One, we need to rethink the role of mobile at every step of the shopping journey, online and offline, and make it the glue that connects everything. Number two, we need to make tackling friction a core part of a company culture in all teams and at all levels. It can't just be a separate conversation in a CX team. And three, we need to make sure that we continue to invest in those new technologies so we can get ahead of the curve and make sure that we're there when it tips and make it a competitive advantage. And I believe that if we do those things, we will all get significantly closer to a zero-friction future. And that means that we can start to recoup just some of that 260 billion that's lost every year to friction. But more importantly, it would also make life just a little bit easier for all of us. Thank you so much for your time.